It's a question we've been asked since we've delivered this record. Obviously, I've been sort of hibernating for a long time. Let's see, it was 88 our last tour, and I think we've been going for about 23 years or so. I figured it was time to give people a break, see if we wanted to do this, in the future or not, and just give people a different life, a family life, and a home life. Everybody's spread up into their own worlds. I mean, I have people all over the place in Manchester, England, and Fresno, and, you name it. I didn't want to say we'd actually retired. I hate that when bands say they retire and then you see them back on the road for the farewell tour again, and it goes on and retires round and round and round. So I knew that was a possible thing. So at the same time, I'm slowly messing around in my studio writing. I did have an option to do a solo record, and I built up a little gang of guys I played with in Los Angeles, usually around Wednesday evenings, actually come over to my studio and we just have a laugh and play. And we put stuff on tape and we jam. And eventually I was going to make a solo record, which was going to be probably a lot more blues-based than the Supertramp stuff. But for some reason I kept writing, and more songs sounded like Supertramp, and it was harder and harder to envisage sort of going out and starting from scratch as a serious solo sort of thing. I mean, it's one thing to put something out, and it's another thing to actually commit to a record company full-fledged support in terms of, all the promotion and videos, and it takes a lot to really work a record, as you know. For me to do that after Supertramp's career was very hard to face. Not that I won't do solos in perhaps a more low-key manner. So anyway, it seemed that a lot of the songs, as I say, were very Supertrampy, and so I decided to call up John and see what he was doing, and Bob, the drummer. These were two guys I really wanted to come back from the old Supertramp. And John was kind of in the middle of music school. He decided to go back to music school at, 50 years old type of thing. And he's in Manchester on his third year of a 4-year course, so it was kind of difficult to prize him away from that. But he did go and think about it, and eventually he said yes. He missed the adulation of the crowds and all the rest of it. He wants to get out and do it again, so I was very pleased to see that. And the same thing with Bob. I mean, he was a little keener, I must say. He was kind of missing playing with me and all that stuff. He lives in Fresno, sort of halfway up California. Baseball was a big thing in Bob's life in Fresno. He coaches one of the local, I guess, high school teams up there. And he is thoroughly into it. Actually, when he started playing music, he had a choice, really, between baseball and music. So he was quite a good baseball player. Fortunately for me, he became the drummer that we love. Well, there really was no shortcuts to it. I mean, if we were going to do it, we're going to have to do it, and that is rebuild the whole sort of production again, stages and light shows and movies. It's not a simple thing, because people are going to want to see that. Even though it's been a 10-year break, I mean, they're going to remember that sort of side of it, of the show. But we're getting through it. We're in the middle of building that up again. We've delivered a fairly interesting cover, I think. The title of the record is Some Things Never Change, and to illustrate that, we have a middle-aged couple who are actually having tea at 4 o'clock on the moon with the earth in the background. So it's breakfast in America and tea on the moon, I suppose. I think this sort of earthiness of the record is coming from a few different places. I've always been a kind of a jazz fan. I grew up sort of playing drums, which kind of got me into the jazz thing. Gene Krupa was my number one start for music. I mean, I found an old record of his when I was a kid in England. My parents had bought this radiogram, and whoever they bought it from left this Gene Krupa record in there, and it just about killed me. I mean, I played it 1,000 times. That was the whole thing into music for me. I mean, it was just an amazing thing. So anyway, that's where I got the jazz thing. And then I slowly sort of messed around with piano, more in a rock and roll-y rhythm and blues field, not really intending to become a professional pianist or anything, just for my own amusement. So I had kind of two levels of thing going on. But I think what's happening now is that the two are starting to merge a little bit, which gives me a really good feeling. It's like I'm finally confident enough to use some of the jazz from a keyboard standpoint, you know. I've been very slowly absorbing some of the jazz techniques a little bit and trying to learn things a bit and studying instructional videos and having some lessons and playing along with play-along music. And I was trying to teach myself things and learn things and integrate them into the music. And I think that's what's happening. And I think it makes you feel better about doing the music because you feel like you're not trying to be a 20-year-old sort of rock and roll star. You are actually playing your age a little bit in being able to utilize more sophisticated musical devices, if you like. I mean, and plus we have a very nice trumpet player who has come on board, a guy called Lee Thornburg, who's been around for a while, but he was in Tara Para Horns. Not just a section player, has a wonderful melodic voice of his own, which really complements John Helliwell's saxophone playing. And John, as you may remember, was a very melodic saxophone player. So we got quite a rich musical palette to choose from right now. What has happened with us is a little bit more natural than cloning. I mean, it's something that's just sort of happened. It's people that I've wanted to be working with just happened to be healthy, fit, and wanting to do it. And, I said this to John, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago. If I could have this bunch of guys, I think it will be just a knockout band. And right now, I still have them. And it's an 8-piece band, and I have every one of them. We're itching to play. Length, I don't know. Well, these days we have to kind of produce a CD, which is, they expect something in the order of 70, 80 minutes of music. So the first thing I think to myself is we have to set a mood. If somebody's going to sit there for that amount of time, ideally, and listen to something from start to finish, you better get them in the mood. And that's what the opening track is about. It's about just killing any other mood you're in and just slowly revving the machine up type of thing. It's a kind of a slow sort of groove type bluesy number. The actual introduction is a beautiful piece of bass playing by Cliff, who is one of the guys I started working with towards my solo record, and he has worked beautifully in with Bob too on drums. It's a very nice rhythm section. I really didn't give any quarter on what I wanted to open the record. That's what's opening the record, and I'll wait to see if anybody's going to complain about it. And nobody has. Of course, I had demos of this stuff. I remember sort of playing the demo to one prospective producer saying I really wanted to sort of illustrate this with almost cartoon-like effects, and he thought that was a good idea. And we followed through on that with quite a few little bits and pieces. And it just worked. I mean, it was sometimes they don't work as you imagine them, but this one sort of worked just as I figured it would. It's just a nice little change of dynamic along the way. No. It was just a sort of chant that suited the lyric of the song, you know, somebody really struggling against the odds, trying to make it. And this particular character, I don't know if he's going to make it or not. He's very bullheaded in thinking that he can, but it sounds like he's been doing it for a long time. Yeah, basically, I somebody to believe in his talent, which it may be the wrong talent, you know. I think we've all got talent, but sometimes we want to be something that we can't be, I guess. I know in my case it was a bit painful in the fact that I got thrown in at the deep end in a pro band, really, without too much training, shall we say, knowing a few chords on the piano and just going out there and seeing what happens. I think today, though, for somebody that wants to play, it's great because you have all this instruction and all this sort of technology to help you. You have sort of play-along records, you have video discs. I wish this had been around when I was growing up, I can tell you. It would have made things a lot easier. When I started, I mean, we were a band. It wasn't Supertramp, actually. It was the band before Supertramp, called The Joint. Shows you where we were going right there. But we got stranded in Europe, shall we say, really without anything, without an agent, a manager, a van, pretty much about ready to hit the cardboard box circuit. We somehow hooked up with a guy called Sam, who was a very rich guy who lived in Geneva, Switzerland. I'm kind of cutting corners a bit, but we ended up in his house, in his basement, rehearsing with this composer that we met, trying to sort of do a nice yes type of thing. Classical music and rock was happening then. That was what we were trying to do. We were trying to make the big time that way. Anyway, it kind of fell to pieces, deservedly so. We weren't a very good band. And Sam asked if I'd like to try again with my own songs and start a new band. And that's how Supertramp started, actually. Yeah. Went over to London and put some ads in the paper. And we got our first version of Supertramp, Roger, of course, being among the first auditionees. I think it was a nice one to jolt people out of that mood that we started there because, you know, as you say, it's a 9-minute piece of music and now we got to really wake them up quickly and get on with it. This song is a short, punchy song. It's actually the single. You win, I lose. Very simple lyric. You know, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. You can, according to where you're at in the lyric, you can identify with it. And it sort of turns around, I guess, towards the end, and then the loser's winning. It sounds fun. It's one of those things where it kind of sounds nice and easy and novelty. But I suppose it's a bit like comedy. You know, comedy, I'm told, is very hard to do. And sometimes those easy novelty songs are very tough to make all the words kind of fit right. You'd think just to get a bunch of opposite words together would be the easiest thing in the world, but for some reason it wasn't. Lyrically, it was quite hard because you just got to find those right opposites, you know. It's a melodica, and that is a finger instrument that you blow. You can't find them so much anymore, actually. They're naturally out of tune, so I guess maybe that didn't help their cause. But there's a solo by a melodica in there, and I said to John as a joke in the studio, he was kind of twiddling his thumbs because he's very supportive in the studio, helping to give his opinion on everything. And I said, well, I bet you couldn't double that on clarinet, you know. So he disappears for about 3 days with his slow up tape recorder, and he wrote the whole thing out, and he came in and doubled it, which is gives it its unique flavor. So it's a clarinet and melodica, absolutely doubled all the way. Very simple love song. Not much else to add to it. One of the later songs I've written basically says the same thing all the way through in different ways. Maybe a touch of going against public opinion, and maybe this particular couple wasn't getting the nod from the families or something, but that wasn't going to make any difference. It was going to work anyway. Well, most things stay the same, which may be the next album, I don't know. But lyrically, it's I sometimes read from time to time that your personality is actually formed before you're born, which is interesting. And that whatever you do, I mean, if you're going to be, I don't know, a rapist or a murderer or something, that's it. I mean, it's all, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Or if you're going to be a great mathematician or whatever it is you're going to be. Some people would say that it's already there before you're actually born. So I find that rather odd. It's quite nice as a title because it sort of applies to some of the values I think Supertramp has. Maybe they're not particularly fashionable in terms of that we like melodic songs than we like beginnings, middles, and ends, and nice solos, and I think we're hooked on that for good. I don't think we're gonna turn into a grunge act too soon. So from that point of view, if they don't change, then we're quite happy. Listen, entire movements have come and gone between our albums, really. We didn't even notice. You were watching it at the right time because that is when you see these infomercials come on. It's really based on the self-improvement infomercials, I should say, such as your Dave Dell Dados, and you send away for about 500 tapes, and then you will, I guess it kind of links up with Something's Never Change. The lead voice is saying, you know, if you want some advice, you better listen to me. Buy my tapes. And then we have Mark's voice comes in for the first time, where he is the poor fellow who is down on his luck in his one-room apartment watching his beaten-up TV, and this guy is trying to get more money from him and tell him everything will be fine if he gets these tapes. And that's really the lyric idea. Well, maybe it'll work for him. Maybe it won't. Interesting, the demo of this song was all double tempo. So when we got in the studio and started jamming, the rhythm section was not particularly comfortable with that sort of groove. Why don't we try to cut it in half and kind of get it to sort of just get a little funkier or something. And then that's what we did. Of course, the chorus repeats at the end, and then we decided just to get back to the original double time, which was quite nice. Mark Hart, who is a singer other than myself, and it's good to have somebody else on board singing again. He's come up with a great one, and sooner or later, I love this song. I've heard him play this for quite a while because Mark has worked with us in the past. He's been on the road with us, and he had a stint with Crowded House. The day before I asked him to come in and help us with Supertramp, Crowded House actually split up, so I mean that's kind of bad luck, but good luck for me, I suppose. So he came in, and I was determined to get that song moving, and very pleased with that one. Well, I have actually worked with Mark in the past on Free as a Bird, and I did sort of split the duties of songwriting on that one, and so I knew a little bit about Mark. The thing is, to me, if it's a Supertramp record, it's got to be a Supertramp song, if you like. So I'm saying to Mark, we've got to find some Supertramp songs, if you know what I mean. because he can write in all kinds of styles. I mean, he listens to everything on the radio. He loves everything. He loves grunge. He loves jazz. He loves, he's one of these guys that can do everything. Plays piano, guitar, sings. So what I'm doing with him is really digging around and trying to find the Supertramp side of his nature. And the Light is it's a song I've been toying with for a while to get exactly what I want out of it, and I think I finally did. I mean, it's got a rather intense history, actually, of changing lines and the arrangements. And so I do that with songs sometimes. I have to sort of do them and then leave them and then come back and leave them. So this one, I think you can almost hear it in the song because it's kind of built out of granite almost. It's coming together with somebody after a long time and trying to make it work again. It's just a straight pop song, no sort of excuses whatsoever, and it's complete with the sing-along chorus, and just letting Mark have his way with this one. Got a very nice baritone solo from John, and it's quite nice because we have sort of all the solos on this album, all 17 minutes, seem to set each other off. There's like muted trumpet, then open trumpet, and then clarinet. There's a melodica. There's a whole bunch of different things going on, which is quite nice. I mean, nothing, you can't really plan that, it just happened. So the colors are changing all the time. Well, it's I guess it's the white version of Say What. I don't know what to say about that, but there had to be an element of humor if you're going to call a song Say What, right? This piece is actually built up from jamming, I kind of read that Ray Charles did the same thing with What I Say, and it's they kind of mess around in rehearsals, and slowly this form would come. So the lyrics on Say I didn't change anything. So if you try and make sense of the lyric, good luck. There is no sense. Each line is to be taken as something for it's by itself. I mean, there's really no message on it lyrically, but just a lot of fun. Well, this actually, I think this is the last thing I finished, and it's the last thing on the record. This is the last song I did. And I'm kind of proud of this one because trying to figure out what I was going to write about in the lyric, and the concept was really to string a whole bunch of cliches together, which is things that we live by from day to day, hence where there's a will, there's a way, and, you're never too young or you're never too old or whatever. Everybody gets these expressions. It hovers on a little cynical here and there, but I was quite pleased to get my Rodney King quote in on it, which is, can we all get along? And I thought that was a fairly prominent sort of line of the decade. Canada, of course, is huge for Supertramp in the past. I mean, we'd like to play in Canada. Canada was as big as the States for us, actually. For some reason, I guess it's the same as, for some reason, we're big in France. I mean, the French part of Canada loves us. They're the sort of people, for some reason, they're loyal to their old heroes for some reason. It's not quite so transitory. They always remember the old people, the old acts and stuff. I mean, like the French are still packing it in for Johnny Hallyday and, from the 50s. We're very pleased with the band. Number one, of course, is John Helliwell, who's been with us from 73, I think he came on board. 1873. He is here, and he really hasn't changed an iota. It's amazing. He looks exactly the same, and he can't wait to get out there. And then we have our original drummer, Bob Siebenberg, who's playing just great. Then we have Mark Hart, who, as I say, is helping with some of the singing and writing chores. He has been out. He's kind of like an old member in that he's been out on a couple of tours before with us. On guitar right now we have Carl Verheyen, who has toured with us again in Europe. First time he's really worked on the record. Incredible player technically. When he joined, I said, I just want 1/5 of your talent, because I like melodic playing instead of like really crazy fast and stuff like that. So he can do everything. He plays Spanish, classical, jazz, you name it. And he's, he's a very sought after session player in LA. So we're lucky to get him away from that lucrative scene for a while. And then on bass we have Cliff Hugo, who again is a very popular session player, although he has a great empathy with playing with me and with bands and songs. He loves that. He was out with Ray Charles for a while too. So he's the real thing. And on percussion we have Tom Walsh, also a great drummer. Very busy session man in Los Angeles, but again, just absolutely loves working with Supertramp. And a great guy. I mean, one of these guys that can just make a joke out of everything. And on trumpet is, proud addition is Lee Thornburg. He's also doing some trombone. He plays keyboards, sings, so he's going to cover a lot of things. That's the band. It's a good one. We're going to play some old songs. That's what people, especially in Europe, they're going to come out and want to hear, because the best of Supertramp is a steady seller. It sold just an incredible amount of records over there. That really told me that there was an audience, actually, because it just sells all the time. It's great. It is nice, and you can either sit there and say thank you very much and go out to dinner every night, or you can go out and play. And I think we should go out and play and to say thank you, and hopefully they'll enjoy some of the new songs and as well as the old ones. I think we're going to probably play about 20% new ones and 70% of the old stuff. It's going to be very interesting for me to hear the old songs with this band. It's a slightly slicker band, and I don't really intend to change the arrangements too much if it works. But I think they're going to sound really good, to be honest. That is one of Supertramp's folklore truths, actually. We played in Paris, actually. I've just come back from Paris. When we played there, a place called the Bataclan Theatre, and it's still apparently exactly the same. We played to 6 paying customers, and one of them was our French promoter, who still our French promoter. From there, we went just completely through the roof in France. I have no idea why. Word of mouth, we can't discount it.